Watch this.
Off with a bang. Idaho's constitutional officers were sworn in today with all the pomp and circumstance. We'll hear from the Gem State's 33rd governor about his commitment to the job. And once business gets going in the State House, many may see these badges of various colors in the hallways and committee rooms. What do they mean? We'll break it down. Banding together to ensure no child goes hungry. What the small community of Garden Valley is doing to keep their kids fed and healthy. It's Inauguration Day in Idaho. The state's constitutional officers, the highest elected we have in our state, well, they took their oath of office and the stage is now set for the next era of Idaho and Idaho politics. All the pomp and circumstance was on display. Oh yeah, I'm sure many of you heard it down at the Idaho State House. Marching bands, songs, exploding cannons, oh, they had it all. And some faces on Inauguration Day, yes, they're certainly familiar. Governor Brad Little, of course, taking center stage. But 4 of the 7 people elected to statewide office this past November, they'll be kicking off their first term, and that began today. Lieutenant Governor Scott Bedke, Secretary of State Phil McGrain, Attorney General Raul Labrador, and Superintendent of Public Instruction Debbie Critchfield. Now, in addition to Governor Little, Treasurer Julie Ellsworth was inaugurated for a second term, and State Controller Brandon Wolf begins his 3rd term in that office. And Governor Little and others, they thanked the people of Idaho during the inauguration, the governor drawing attention to what makes our state special and why he is so proud to govern the Gem State for his 2nd term.
One of the greatest blessings of being in this job is getting to see the spirit of service play in communities all across Idaho. No matter how much things seem to change around us, and change is inevitable, our Idaho values never seem to drift away from us. Idahoans are still as tough, yet compassionate, self-reliant, yet community-minded, as we were in the early days of our state's history, when Teresa's and my ancestors came well over 125 years ago. Those enduring Idaho values have established the foundation for our incredible success. Success builds success, and the people of Idaho has continually demonstrated they want our state to keep getting better. It's just who we are.
The celebrations for Inauguration Weekend continue tomorrow. Governor Little and the First Lady, Teresa Little, they'll join the other state constitutional officers and their families for the inaugural procession and the ball Saturday night, 8 p.m. inside the Capitol. We'll have coverage for you. The inaugural ball, though, is first held in the newly built State House at the time, following the inauguration of John Haynes as Idaho's 10th governor. That was in the year 1913. The 49th inaugural ball, though, that will continue that grand tradition here in the state of Idaho. And yes, our Jude Binkley will be at the inaugural ball tomorrow evening. We'll have a full look at the celebration on the news at 10. We will also hear from Governor Little coming up on Monday. He'll give his State of the State address to Idaho lawmakers and the people of Idaho to officially kick off the 2023 legislative session. Of course, we'll have full and live coverage for you on Monday. Now that the executive members of Idaho's government are sworn in, work can begin inside the Capitol. The first session of the 67th Idaho legislature begins this Monday. Governor Little, of course, the State of the State, and then the lawmakers, they'll get to work. They'll convene on Monday. And of course, in Idaho, a major expectation, the Republicans, they hold the supermajority in both chambers. But here's exactly how that breaks down for you. The state legislature's website shows that Republicans hold 28 seats in the Senate, Democrats hold 7. In the House, Republicans outnumber Democrats 59-11. Also, there has been a lot of turnover in the legislature because of redistricting and retirements, and of course, the election we saw in November. By our count, there will be 40 new faces in terms of legislators among the 105 total lawmakers at the Capitol. And during the taping of this Sunday's Viewpoint program, Boise State University Professor of Political Science, Dr. Stephanie Witt, well, Dr. Witt described the possible impact of having so many new faces, 40 brand new lawmakers in the Idaho legislature.
Sometimes when there's a big block of new legislators, they band together and insist on change or try to disrupt the system a little bit. Typically and traditionally, new legislators are at the bottom of the seniority list, right? So they would have to wait a few years before they're really commanding a lot of attention and a lot of new legislation. But you never know. If they come in and they really want to make a big impact, this is something we see more in Congress, where we've had a couple of times where a large cohort of new people come in. So I'm not sure that the 40 new ones are all of a type, right? But if they're not anxious to wait their time, in seniority, we may see them make an impact right away.
Dr. Witt also discusses the political makeup of the two chambers of the legislature, the leadership roles, and some of the potential big issues this session, including property tax reform, abortion legislation, and public education funding. You can watch Doug Petcash on Viewpoint, his full interview with Dr. Witt. That's coming up this Sunday morning at 9 a.m. right here on 7. The Idaho way, Boise kind. We've heard these types of mottos all across the Gem State. You can debate exactly what they mean, but really it's about taking care of each other, helping your neighbor when needed. And that's part of the charm of our tight-knit communities across the state. Most of us actually know our neighbors. In Garden Valley, all those neighbors are bonded together to lend a helping hand. To who exactly? The children, kids who can't afford a school lunch there. Our Andrew Bartline shows us sometimes all you have to do is ask.
There's something to be said about communities compiled of just a couple thousand.
Everyone seems to know each other. They look out for each other. You kind of got each other's back.
Randy Thompson's only been the Garden Valley superintendent for a year and a half.
I love being here.
But this is home.
Absolutely. I grew up in a small town in Georgia, in central Georgia.
And his small town values, they cross borders.
You don't get lost in the crowd so much when you're in a small school or a small community.
The crowd in this building is roughly 300 kids, all coming from different backgrounds, different families, different financial situations.
It breaks my heart thinking that a kid, because they don't have money or funds, skips a meal. And that just really hit me to the core.
25 kids skip lunch daily. Thompson says they fall in a gray area where they don't qualify for free lunch, but don't have the money to afford a full lunch either.
Okay.
Food director Debbie Updike would never lose those faces in the crowd.
We have a longer day here at 4-day week, and so when a student misses lunch, they have a longer period without food.
But this isn't a problem anymore.
So
because
we're
the district
excited to be able to help them out.
Asked the community for help. A simple letter explained the problem, and in a small town, that's all it takes.
We got them covered, yes.
35 donors raised $12,000 in total. That covers the cost for 2 years.
Awesome. Our community is amazing.
Debbie's plan all along was to remove barriers for students who need lunch. And the help to do this cross borders too.
And I understand it's people outside of our community as well who contributed.
We did receive some response from the valley, down from the Boise area. I had a few people reach out and also donate. So this has gotten some attention outside of just our little community.
Call it the Idaho way, call it Boise kind, whatever you like, it's real.
If we find ourselves in a similar situation a couple years from now, I'll reach out again because I know this community is willing to respond. And they've always told me, if you need help, let us know. We're willing to help.
Through COVID, government programs largely covered the cost of school lunches, I should say, but that support from the federal government has since largely faded in the Garden Valley School District. Thompson says the district could not use funds from other sources, so help from the community really was their main option to make this happen. And it's kind of tough to wrap your head around, Joe, that there are families and kids where you don't qualify for a school lunch, but for a free school lunch, I should say, but you also don't make enough to where you can financially afford it. It's a very weird gray area to be in. The school district says they don't care. If you don't have a lunch, we're going to support you. It doesn't matter the reason, we'll make it happen.
And I've always thought that, that's the best policy. It should be the policy around the country. Like, I don't know how you're going to take it out on a kid who, like a 7-year-old kid can't go get a job and, buy their own lunch. It's not their fault that they didn't come to school with the lunch. If you want to talk about other things, that's fine. But this is great to hear that, people helping people with no strings attached.
Yeah, 35 others thought the same way you did, raised $12,000, covers them for 2 years.
Good. Okay. Well, hopefully we don't need more aid, but we know that there are people willing to give, which is always comforting here in the state of Idaho. Andrew Bartline reporting for us here on our Friday. We're going to step aside. We'll be right back. Badges? We don't need no stinking badges. Well, actually, you do to get certain places in the Idaho Capitol building. And with the 2023 legislature set to start next week, we're taking a look back at when identification security was a hot topic in the marbled halls of the Idaho Statehouse. Got a story idea? Maybe a comment or a concern? Text us. Here's our number, 208-321-5614. Be sure to include your name, the hashtag the 208, and please keep it clean. That way we can share some at the end of the show coming up here soon. Wasting no time getting to work, Idaho's new Attorney General, Raul Labrador, moved to dismiss trespassing charges against Sarah Brady. She's the Meridian woman who went to a closed playground in April of 2020 and asked police to arrest her. A handful of parents took their children to a playground at Kleiner Park after it, along with other parks, were closed due to pandemic rules. Brady and others argued with police officers about the constitutionality of the decision. Brady then turned, put her arms behind her back, and asked that the officer arrest her. In a news release, the AG Labrador said, quote, "We know Idahoans have been dealing with significant government overreach. This case should have never been prosecuted. It has been a profound waste of precious taxpayer resources. Going forward, we will focus the people's resources on prosecuting child exploiters and other serious criminals, not mothers who take their kids to the park." In moving to dismiss the charges, Labrador is distinguishing himself from former Attorney General Lawrence Wasden, who in 2020 defended Governor Brad Little's authority to issue a stay-at-home order. We'll continue to follow this story and bring you any updates as they come. And yes, we have seen all of your text messages about this story. In truly Idaho news, today is National Take Down the Christmas Tree Day. Since the weather is expected to be a little more mild this weekend, it might be time to take down the inflatable reindeer, pack away the icicle lights as well. But if you live in Ammon, Idaho, and you need to get rid of your live tree, oh boy, do we have just the event for you. The Icy Inferno Christmas tree bonfire and fireworks show is coming up soon. The city of Ammon posted these pictures to their Facebook page, thanking people for dropping off trees already and welcoming even more. The event is Saturday, January 21st at 6 p.m. near McCowan Park. And trees will be accepted up to the event. Where else in the world can you celebrate the end of the holidays with the bonfire of former merriment and fireworks? Maybe only in Idaho. The same mild temps that are making great bonfire weather are not making for great trail conditions. Once again, Boise Parks, they're reminding people not to use trails that are muddy because they destroy them. The Ridge to Rivers program says that they continue to see damage on trails in the area. They emphasize that hiking in these conditions can cause irreparable damage. That means that people are doing now that may affect the quality of trails for people in the future. So Ridge to River says if you're leaving tracks, it's time to go back. All right, well, we saw the focus on the frost there, and Rick, I see behind you, it looks like there's all kinds of stuff going on.
Well, this is from this morning. You remember it was overcast, we had fog?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, if you look outside here, that's it. That's from this morning. This is from 8:30, and you wondered, will this ever get better? But as I run this through for the day, you'll see that, yes, it does. The fog leaves, and then there's the sunshine this afternoon. If you haven't been outside, it was terrific this afternoon. In fact, the temperature today got all the way up to 48 degrees. Yesterday was 49. So we're pretty close, and these temperatures are 10 degrees above normal, at least for Boise. If you look at most of these temps, they're in the mid-40s. Many of the mountains happen to be into the mid-30s or so. And when you think about those temperatures getting up way up there into the 40s this afternoon, you know, last night, our temperatures remained basically in the right around 37 degrees, wasn't that it? That is the number right along through here, as you can see, all the way until the fog came in. Now here's 8 and 9 o'clock. Then the temperatures dropped. When the fog started to burn off, there's the sunshine this afternoon and temperatures that got up into the mid to the upper 40s for the day. So for tonight, not bad evening, 6 o'clock tonight down to 43 degrees. Of course, that's still at early sunset, but by the time we get to the end of this month, the sunset is going to be around 6 o'clock. So it's going to get a little more in the way of some sunlight during the day, and especially with the sunset. So the 48 is 10 degrees warmer than the 38. That's your average or your normal, but we did get down to 33 because of the fog. But for most of the morning it was 37, so that was almost 10 degrees above the normal low of 25 degrees. We're going to talk about 2 surges of moisture coming through here. Now for tonight, it's pretty much clear. And just to let you know, your Saturday looks good. It's just going to have quite a few clouds. It's going to be a little breezy though. Then as you get into Saturday at 11 o'clock in the morning, I'm sorry, this is Sunday. Sunday, you see the mixture of rain or snow coming through. So that comes through about midday Sunday. Now let's continue with this. Still some scattered showers into Sunday night. Now it looks pretty good until you get into Monday morning, and it's still good in the fact that we're getting more snow in the mountains and we're getting some mixture of some rain and snow down here in most of the valley locations. So those temperatures, and here's the thing, we've been talking about the warmer temperatures, and they're going to hold on all the way into next week. This is all the way to Friday. But also in there is this southwesterly flow bringing up the warmer air, but it's also bringing in some of the moisture. Now it's going to cool just a little, but not a lot. Highs will be around the lower 40s for Sunday and Monday. As you notice, the percentages there are up fairly high for a mixture of some rain or snow. So that's Sunday and Monday. Saturday's not bad, but kind of breezy. Then as you get into Tuesday and Wednesday, still some showers. I think it's going to start drying a little bit, but not a lot. We'll still have some scattered showers around the area, and temperatures are still going to continue there into the mid to the upper 40s and 47 degrees. And, you know, it's hard to believe, but this is the beginning of January. And these temperatures that I'm showing you there, Joe, are typical to the middle to late February. It's still wintertime, but it's getting closer to spring. So, you know, we're pretty fortunate with the temperatures we have right now.
All right, well, Governor Little will need his rain and snow jacket for the State of the State on Monday. Thank you very much, Rick. Well, next week, speaking of making laws and stuff, next week starts the new legislative session at the Idaho Statehouse. And this year in particular, there will be a number of new faces, new lawmakers, lobbyists, and journalists hooving through the marble hallways. And you might see some badges like this one. Oh, take a look. Well, each color serves a purpose and grants special access to certain areas of the Capitol. And back in the year 2002, John Miller spent time in the rotunda looking for an explanation to it all the types of identification in this week's 208 Redial.
At the State House, they have all kinds and colors of name tags. Black ones, blue ones, lobbyists get the green ones, media get the brown ones. The photographers just love them. Anyway, times are a-changin'.
We're all up here in line to have our identification pictures taken for the identifying tag that we are now to wear to be in the Capitol.
The front of the new tag is fine, says lobbyist Carl and legislative staff Donna. It's the back.
Oh, gee whiz, it tells all the particulars.
Does yours have the weight on it and everything?
Yeah.
Are you proud of that?
No.
Your hair color, your weight, and your age.
I don't give those out to just anyone.
My weight?
Yeah. Not that it bothers Representative Raybould.
I mean, you look like a fit man, though, so it's probably no big problem, right?
It's no problem to me.
Oh, okay. Can we see your vitals?
Why? You don't need to know how old I am.
Okay.
That's why the lawmakers are becoming lawbreakers, or at least truth benders.
Maybe like a little weight, you know.
Right? See, a woman's prerogative even overrides state law, even in the State House.
Actually, I'm going to probably lie about my birth date.
Really?
No.
What I did was I thought I'll put down the weight that I'd like to achieve.
So it's not so much your actual weight, it's your projected weight.
Right.
However, I don't remember being born that long ago.
So while the new State House pastime is standing around lying about your age, at least now,
Media John can use the State House, John, without any trouble.
That's right.
John Miller, Idaho's News Channel 7.
So you'll get a glimpse of some of those badges Monday during our coverage of Governor Little's State of the State address. Our live coverage begins Monday at noon with Doug Petcash, Andrew Bartline, myself will be down at the State House. You can watch it right here on 7 and on KTVB.com and on YouTube and on KTVB+. So Monday, it kicks off, so we'll go from there. Well, let's take a look at some of your comments here on our first Friday of the new year. This person says, Joe, Drew Carey called. Great guy. He'd like his glasses back. Just teasing, love the show. That's Tammy Meridian. Yes, thank you. I got some new specs so I can actually see now. So this is great. So when you send your comments in, I'll be able to read them. Okay, this person says, how tall are you, Joe? How tall is Andrew? I think I'm 5'6". Andrew, I believe, is 5'10". He and former KTVB reporter Tristan Lewis were both 5'10", so it was hard to tell them apart. So There's that answer. This person says, great show, but sure do wish you'd change the music. It reminds me too much of COVID lockdown. I actually got to say I agree with you. When I hear the music in the commercial breaks, it really does throw me back to 2020, 2021. So we do have some alternate tracks that our crew uses sometimes. So keep an ear out for maybe some different music. This person says, where in the world is Brian Holmes? He is absent more than not. Missing Brian. Maybe he can start a new series. Where in the world is Brian Holmes? That's Bud from Twin Falls. So Brian, he took some time off at the end of last year, and he's been here though Monday through Thursday, I should say. Fridays is the day that I take over the 208. So you won't likely see Brian here on a Friday anchoring the 208, but he's around, he's working hard. He'll be back on Monday. And then this person says, how come the cannons were used today at the Capitol? Shook my windows 2 blocks away and the dog is still under the bed. Yes, if you live near downtown, that is brutal because they shot the cannons as per tradition for the inauguration at the state capitol. And speaking to the state capitol, we'll be back on Monday for the state of the state and everything you need to set up the legislative session. We'll see you Monday.